Today on the PE Express podcast, we will talk about how to introduce healthy foods to the picky eater.
Welcome to the PE Express podcast. 2 to 3 times a week, a PE expert will share a tip, activity idea, or teaching strategy to help you become a better PE professional. Today's host is Chris Nichols. Chris has been a physical education teacher for 23 years and is the 2018 Texas AFERD Elementary Physical Education Teacher of the Year.
Welcome to the PE Express podcast. Today we're going to share some tips on encouraging families and how they promote healthy choices for their students. Getting students to eat healthier starts at home. Joining me today is Karen Burnell, Texas PTA Healthy Lifestyle liaison. Thanks for joining me, Karen. I know we've talked a lot over the years about healthy choices. I have quite a few units in my physical education class where I try to reinforce healthy eating, but it's just as important to get buy-in from parents as well. What tips do you have to encourage parents and to get to that picky eater?
Thanks for having me, Chris. I recently wrote an article for the Texas PTA Voice digital magazine, and it was titled From SpaghettiOs to Spaghetti Squash. I wrote it that way because I grew up in the era of junk food. The term junk food actually dates back to the 1950s, but it was really coined in the 1970s, and when that generation was facing large amounts of junk food. So to say I was a picky eater was an understatement. So fortunately, my career path took me towards working with registered dietitians and wellness resources for schools. So through all my personal journey and professional tips, I have a couple of ideas to help parents work with their children. So the first tip is realization. Basically, wow, is this stuff really food? Many of us might have heard to shop the perimeter, and that's because where you're going to find all the fresh items, produce, meat, milk products, all around the outside of the grocery store. And then the non-perishable, more prepackaged foods are on the inside. Those generally have more than one ingredient and probably ones that you cannot pronounce. So the first step in realizing what actually is healthy and what is not, and that can mean different things to different people. So just basically stick to as natural as possible and don't get caught up into too many fad diets. The second tip is education. You know, we see hot topic wording from manufacturers, but we're not really reading the labels. Ingredients are listed in descending order from largest amounts to the next largest and so on. There are 61 names of sugar. So there are lots of confusing things to look for. The next step is investing, meaning investing the time, and that doesn't mean meal prepping of just chicken and broccoli for an entire week. It could be as simple as cooking a chicken on the weekend and using the leftovers for chicken soup or chicken salad during the week. There are also savvy grocery store shopping apps, but my old school paper list includes meals coming up for the week, the ingredients that I need, and other things that I'm running out of. So those are just some other tips for making time to meal plan.
Karen, that's some great tips for the grocery store, but what are some suggestions when they don't eat the food that you buy?
Absolutely. So my next tip is all about training. We do a lot of training with physical activity, but we also need to train our taste buds. So a couple of my steps are taking baby steps, looking for things lower in sugar, but not with artificial sugars, use more spices or herbs instead of salt. The key is just to tiptoe in so your taste buds can adjust easier. Second, try again. It actually takes the body 10 to 15 times to see, smell, or taste a new food before it decides if it likes it or not. Third, make it a money bite. This is a big hit in my house to combine something you dislike with something you do. Just makes it easier to go down. Fourth, mix it up. Combine one flavor bag of oatmeal with a regular bag, or mix brown rice with white rice, or regular noodles with spaghetti squash. Those are ways to mix it. So my last tip is modeling. Eating as a family is so important, but it's also how we eat in front of our family. We want to set a good example. So consider the faces you make in front of your kids or the words you use to describe foods. We also have a no thank you bite at my house. Everyone has to try one bite before they can say no thank you.
Karen, thanks for joining me today. If you have any additional questions for Karen, you can email her at healthylifestyles@txpta.org. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to connect with Chris on Twitter @CNicholsPE. This session of the PE Express podcast has come to an end. Don't forget to subscribe to the PE Express podcast for more tips, activity ideas, and strategies to help you become a better PE professional. We'll see you soon, right here on the PE Express podcast, powered by Gopher, your resource for all things physical education.